I want you to just for a second picture a name. The words Jungle Pocket.
Okay.
What comes to mind? For me, it's maybe like a cute cartoon kangaroo, something from a kid's show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It sounds like something you'd find in the plush toy aisle at a department store. It definitely doesn't scream, apex predator.
Right. But here's the thing. Picture this. It's 2001. You're at the Tokyo race course, packed with over 100,000 people, just screaming.
Incredible atmosphere.
And this horse, Jungle Pocket, he's just won the Japanese Derby. But he doesn't just trot back politely. He stops. He looks at the stands and he lets out this guttural roar. Not a whinny, a roar.
It's one of the most visceral moments in the sport's history.
Mm-hmm.
And that contrast between the sort of nursery rhyme name and the absolute beast on the track.
Mm.
Well, that's exactly why we're talking about him today.
This is a deep dive into Jungle Pocket, and it's not just about race stats. It's about a very specific moment in time, the turn of the 21st century, a huge generational shift in Japanese racing, and how this one horse with a funny name became the symbol of a whole new era.
It really is a perfect storm of a story. You've got a legendary rivalry that was cut tragically short. You have a changing of the guard showdown against a horse, literally nicknamed the end of the century overlord.
And just this raw emotional energy that he brought to everything. So let's get into it. To really understand that roar, we have to start at the beginning, where he came from.
Well, in horse racing, biology is destiny, and his blueprint is fascinating. He was born May 7, 1998. His father was a horse named Tony Benn.
Okay, so Tony Benn. I've seen this name pop up everywhere in the research, especially the term Tony Benn stride. It sounds like a dance move or something.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But no, it's all about mechanics. Tony Benn was a huge European star, an Arc de Triomphe winner, and he passed down this incredible stamina and a very specific way of moving.
A long, sweeping gait.
Exactly. They aren't drag racers who just explode from the gate. They're more like freight trains.
So it takes them a bit to get going.
A long while. They need a long, straight stretch of track to really unwind that stride and get up to speed. But once they hit that top gear, they are almost impossible to stop.
Yep.
And this becomes a really critical plot point later.
Okay, so that's the engine. What about the team behind him?
He was owned by Umoji Saito and trained by the great Sakai Watanabe. And the jockey was Koichi Tsunoda. Now, for the real diehards listening, that combination might ring a bell.
It does for me. That's the exact same team from Fuji Kaseki, right?
Spot on. And Fuji Kaseki was this undefeated superstar. He was like a Ferrari, just sleek and perfect. But his career was cut short by injury. So for this team, there was a sense of unfinished business.
They were looking for a second chance.
A kind of redemption. But Jungle Pocket was not a sleek Ferrari. He was rougher, wilder.
And then there's the name. We have to talk about the name.
We do. It literally comes from a song on a children's TV show.
That's just wild. It's like naming a heavyweight boxer Pudding Pie.
It is. It gives him this disarming identity, but I think it actually added to his mystique later. You expected something cute, and then you got a warrior.
So let's get him on the track. He debuts in September of 2000. Were people expecting big things?
Surprisingly, no. The expectations were pretty modest. He wasn't the favorite. But then the race started, and this is where we get our first little clue. He won, which is great, but looking back, that specific race was a total statistical anomaly.
How do you mean?
Well, usually in a debut race, maybe half the horses never win a single race in their lives. They just aren't good enough. In his debut, every single one of the 8 horses he ran against went on to win races.
Wow, so it was a super maiden race.
Exactly. Beating that field on his first try told the insiders, okay, pay attention to this one.
And he proved it wasn't a fluke pretty quick. He goes to the Sapporo Nisei Stakes, a grade 3, and he doesn't just win.
He shatters the course record. And he beats a filly named TM Ocean, who was no slouch. She went on to win 2 classics herself. So by the end of his 2-year-old season, the secret's out. Jungle Pocket is a monster.
But, and there's always a but, he wasn't the only monster in that class, was he?
No. And this brings us to one of the most legendary races in Japanese history. If you say Radio Tampa High Nisei Stakes from that year to a fan, their eyes will light up.
This is the big one, the legendary clash.
It really was. You had 3 horses who would go on to define the whole generation. You had Jungle Pocket, you had a gray horse called Kurofune, and you had Agnes Takion.
The big 3. It's like watching the Avengers assemble for the first time as teenagers.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And in that race, Jungle Pocket ran an incredible race.
Yeah.
He actually broke the old course record.
Oh, he didn't win.
He didn't win. He finished second because Agnes Takion was just something else, otherworldly. Takian won that race with a speed that just seemed impossible for a 2-year-old.
So that sets up the whole dynamic for the next year, for 2001. You have Takian, the untouchable genius, and Jungle Pocket, the powerhouse challenger, chasing him.
Exactly.
So we get to 2001, the 3-year-old season. First big test is the Satsuki show, the first leg of their Triple Crown. Jungle Pocket's feeling good. He's won a prep race. He gets in the gate.
Yeah.
And then disaster.
Complete disaster. The gates open, and he stumbles. Badly.
In a Grade 1 race, a stumble like that is basically game over.
It should be. You lose your position, you lose momentum. The jockey, Tsunoda, must have felt his heart sink, but he didn't panic. He gathers the horse up, weaves through traffic, and somehow manages to charge home for third. It was an incredible ride.
Let me guess.
But Agnes Takian was long gone. He won comfortably.
So now Takian is 2 for 2 against him, and the narrative is probably building that Jungle Pocket is just destined to be second best.
That's exactly what people were saying. Jungle Pocket is great, but Takian is invincible. And then just the cruelty of the sport stepped in. Shortly after that race, they found that Agnes Takian had a bowed tendon.
Which is pretty much a career ender.
It was. The hypersonic particle, as they call him, was retired. He never raced again.
Wow. That's huge. The great rivalry, it just vanishes.
It's the biggest what if of that whole era. Could he have ever beaten him? We'll just never know. But what it meant was suddenly the throne was empty, and the Japanese Derby was right around the corner.
And Jungle Pocket is now the one to beat. But it wasn't a sure thing, because with Takian gone, an old rival comes back into focus, Kurofuna.
Right. And you have to understand the context here. 2001 was the first year that the Japanese classics were fully open to foreign-bred horses.
Ah, okay.
And Kurofuna was American-bred. So there was this national anxiety that these bigger, stronger foreign horses would come in and just dominate Japan's most important race.
So Jungle Pocket wasn't just running for himself anymore. He was basically Team Japan.
The pressure was just immense. You've got the ghost of Takian, the threat of Kurofuna, and the weight of the entire country's expectations on your back.
Okay, so let's go to the race. Tokyo Racecourse. We talked about that Tony Bin Stride. This is his track, right?
This is his house. That long, grueling uphill straight at Tokyo is made for horses like him. It rewards grinders, not sprinters. It's genetically his home turf.
The gates open? What happens?
It was a very tense race. The track was a bit heavy from rain, which made it tougher. Kurofuna made his move, but you could see the distance was just a bit too much for him.
And Tsunoda on Jungle Pocket?
He waited. He was patient. He knew what kind of engine he had underneath him. He waited until he hit that long straight, and then he just pushed the button.
And the freight train left the station.
He just surged past everyone, pulled away. It was a decisive, powerful win. No doubt who the best horse was on the day. But what happened after the finish line? That's what made him a legend. The moment he slows down, he turns back to face the stands, and as Tsunoda is pumping his fist in the air, the horse just throws his head up and lets out that scream.
That roar. I love it. It's so primal.
People who were there said you could feel it in your chest. It was like a declaration, like he was saying, I'm not the runner-up, I'm not the substitute, I am the Derby winner.
Chilling. Okay, so he's the king. He's reached the summit. But the year isn't over, and this is where the story gets really compelling, because it wasn't smooth sailing from there.
No, it wasn't. He takes a summer break, comes back in the autumn, and he just seems a little off.
Right. He loses the Sapporo Kinnin,
Right.
and then he runs in the Kika show of the final Triple Crown race and finishes fourth.
And fourth is a disaster for a Derby winner. He just looked flat. And this led to a really, really ruthless decision from the ownership.
Did jockey change?
Yeah. I mean, you have to remember, Koichi Tsunoda had been with this horse from day one. He managed that awful stumble. He won the Derby. They were a team. But the owners looked at the next big race, the Japan Cup, and they got nervous.
So they fired him.
They replaced him with Olivier Pellier, a top-class French jockey. It was a cold, calculated business decision. They wanted an international star for the biggest international race.
So who are they so worried about? Who is the big threat in the Japan Cup?
They were worried about TM Aparo.
The end of the century overlord.
And that name is not an exaggeration. In the year 2000, TM Aparo was practically invincible. He won 8 straight races, the Grand Slam of Grade 1s. He was the establishment, the king of the old era.
So you have a perfect setup for the 2001 Japan Cup. The aging emperor, TM Aparo, versus the roaring new champion, Jungle Pocket.
It was the ultimate old guard versus new blood story.
Right.
Aparo was defending his turf. Jungle Pocket was trying to prove the new generation was here. And the race? Well, it played out like a movie script.
How so?
Coming into the final stretch, Tiamat does what he always does. He muscles his way to the front. He just looks unbeatable, grinding everyone else down. But Jungle Pocket had the momentum.
And he got him.
In the last 50 meters, he surged past, won by a neck.
That feels so symbolic. The 20th century champion falling to the 21st century champion right at the wire.
It was the passing of the torch.
Yeah.
But he didn't wait for it to be passed, He snatched it right out of his hands. And with that win, he beat the Overlord, and he secured the Horse of the Year title for 2001.
So he ends 2001 on top of the world. Derby winner, Japan Cup winner, Horse of the Year. He roared his way into the history books. But he did come back to race again in 2002.
He did. And unfortunately, this is where the story starts to wind down a bit. The 2002 season was, well, it was frustrating.
He had some good runs, right? Second in a couple big races.
He was still running, well, yes, second in the Hanshin Daishoten, second in the Tennosho Spring. But he wasn't winning. The start just seemed a little dimmer. And then there was a huge logistical problem that really sealed his fate.
The Tokyo racecourse renovation.
Exactly. We've talked about how much he loved Tokyo. That long straight was his weapon. But in late 2002, Tokyo was closed for a massive renovation. So the Japan Cup, the race he was defending, had to be moved to Nakayama Racecourse.
And for anyone who doesn't have the track layouts memorized, why is Nakayama so bad for a horse like him?
It's like trying to drive a semi-truck on a go-kart track. Nakayama is tight, it has sharp corners, and a really short final straight. It just doesn't give a long-striding horse like him time to build up that unstoppable momentum.
He was doomed by the venue.
Pretty much. He finished 5th in that Japan Cup and then 7th in the Yurima Kinen, which is also at Nakayama. It was clear that between the track and maybe some nagging issues, the magic was gone.
So they made the call to retire him.
They did. He retired to Shedai Stallion Station to start his new career as a sire.
And it was good at that too, wasn't he? Did that Tony Bin legacy carry on?
It absolutely did. He sired 8 Grade 1 winners. Probably the most famous was Tosin Jordan, who was a monster. He actually held the track record at Tokyo for a long time. So yeah, he kept that legacy alive.
He passed away in 2021 at a good age of 23.
A good, long life for a champion.
As we wrap this up, my mind keeps coming back to that Phantom rivalry. We spent so much time talking about Agnes Takion.
You have to. You can't tell the story of Jungle Pocket without the ghost of Takion.
But it raises that classic question. We often define greatness by the rivalries, but Jungle Pocket's greatest rival just vanished. Do you think that hurts his legacy at all?
That's the debate that fans still have. And some will always say, oh, he only won because Takion got hurt. But I think that's really unfair.
Why is that?
Because you can only beat who shows up on the day. And look who he did beat. He held off the foreign invasion by beating Kurofune. He dethroned the invincible emperor, Tiem Opera O. He didn't just fill a power vacuum, he carved out his own era.
And he did it with this personality that you just don't see. That roar, to me, that wasn't a horse asking for validation. That was a horse announcing that he was the validation.
I love that way of putting it. He was the bridge between the centuries. The transition from the old guard to the new, and he made sure that transition was loud.
He didn't just win, he roared. And that's why, all these years later, we're still talking about the horse with the funny name
Jungle Pocket, a true legend.
Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more.